welcome or welcome back to AMP Online Masterclasses. And this is Beginner Music Theory, How to Read Music. And this is class 6 of 7. So we have, including this class, 2 more classes of this music theory class. And yeah, let us know if you have any questions at all during the class. Take notes. If you have trouble seeing the board, let me know, and we'll see if we can zoom in more. And yeah, let us know if you want to answer any of the questions that Mr. Logan is going over. You can send the questions in the chat. You can send your answers in the chat, but make sure you send it to only panelists so everyone doesn't see your answers while we're going over the answers to the problem. So you don't, give the answers away to everyone. But yeah, feel free.
All right. Good. All right, let's go ahead and go over it now just to keep things moving since we started late. So here we've got our first ledger line that's above, the first space is the first line above the staff and bass clef. So we'll remember G, B, D, F, A. So if we count up the notes in between there, we got A, B, and C with our accidental here. That gives us C sharp in bass clef. Number 2 going on, we've got G, B, D, and F. It's on the line, on the 4th line there, so that gives us F. Make sure that it's F natural. We don't have any accidentals in front of it there. First space, remember all cows eat grass. It's got the flat sign there, so that gives us A flat. And 3rd line, G, B, D, great big dogs, D flat. D flat there. All right, let's do another round. We'll do 4 more, and we'll move on. So keep your papers numbered 1 through 4. Or you can call it 5 to 8 if you like. All right. First up. All right, go ahead and take a few moments to finish that up. These are another 4 notes in bass clef with some accidentals, so be careful. If you look at one number 4, that's a natural sign, just if that's unclear to anybody. Should be a natural sign. All right, first up, we're on the 3rd space. So for spaces, we use all cows eat grass. So all cows eat. E, that gives us E flat. On the top line, G, B, D, F, A. That gives us A natural. So A natural there. Number 3, 2nd line, we've got G, B, great big dog, so B natural. And number 4, 3rd space, all cows eat, so E natural there. All right, good. I'm sure you guys are doing very well with bass clef, so we'll leave that behind for now. Let's think about, just for a minute, for part of our warm-up, we'll do a little bit with time signatures, then we'll move on. So let's remember 3/4. So what I'm going to do is like what I've done in the past classes. So I'm going to write some rhythm on the board without bar lines. So notice we're in 3/4 time, which means we have 3 beats, and the quarter note gets the beat. So that means we have 3 quarter notes in each measure. So after you see 3 quarter note beats pass by, you need to draw a bar line. So that's what we're doing now. Draw the bar line in the correct place. And we're in 3/4. All right, go ahead. That's the rhythm there. Take a few seconds to work on that if you would, please. Then we'll go over it. So we're drawing the bar lines. Remember, we finished with the double bar. It's never done unless there's the double bar on the end. So keep that in mind as well. All right, let's go ahead now and put our bar lines in the proper place. So we need 3 quarter note beats. So remember, half note gets 2 beats plus 1 quarter note. There's 3, so let's go ahead and draw a bar there. So we've got 3 beats, 3 quarter notes in each measure. So there we go, 3 quarter notes are right there waiting for us. We'll draw a line down. And dotted quarter note, remember, gets 1.5 beats. So here's 1.5. That 8th note equals a half. So there's our 2 beats. 1.5 plus a half gives us 2 beats here. 2 beats total, 1 and 2 and 3 and. With those last 2 8th notes, so 1 and 2 and 3 and. We can draw our bar line after the and of 3 there. And we've got a dotted half note. Dotted half note gets 3 beats. We'll go ahead and put our double bar line down right there.
Awesome. Yeah, let us know in the chat how you did. Thought it was easy, difficult. If you're I'm sure everyone's getting back into the swing of things after Memorial Day. Yeah, let us know.
Good, let's do one more, working with time signatures. So this one is now going to be in 4/4. And make sure we're putting the bar line in the correct place. 4/4 time. All right, so it's a little bit longer. Remember, here we're in 4/4 time, so keep in mind what those 2 numbers mean. The top number telling you how many beats are in a measure, the bottom number telling you what note gets the beat. All right, let's go ahead, go over that now. 4/4 means we have 4 beats in a measure, and the quarter note gets that beat. So with 4 quarter notes, when 4 quarter notes go by, that's when we need to draw the bar line. So half note gets 2 beats plus 2 quarter notes. We'll draw our line there. Got 1 quarter note plus a half note. That gives us 3, plus another quarter note, there's 4. So we'll go ahead and draw our line there. Next, we've got dotted quarter note, followed by eighth note, and 2 eighth notes there. So here we've got 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Whoops. Should be just a regular quarter note there. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So after that and, we'll draw our eighth note there. Sorry, our bar line, not our eighth note. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Oops. So I need to add a little bit into this last measure. That was my fault. So we've got syncopation here. So eighth notes followed by 3 quarter notes, finishing with an eighth note. Sounds like this if we're counting 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So that'll go ahead and give you that measure. Don't worry about that. But let's count this. So we've got syncopation here. We've got an eighth note followed by 3 quarter notes and then an eighth note. Take a second to think about how you would count that if you were counting and clapping. How would you count that measure with the syncopations? So that eighth note counts for 1 and. It's 1 eighth note, so that gets just the 1. And is right here. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Whoops. The last eighth note is the and. So these are all on the and except for the first one. So if we're counting that, we've got 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. We call that syncopation when the note sounds off the beat, when it sounds on the off beat, or it emphasizes the off beat. That's what we call syncopation. Now it's pretty easy after that. We've got 2 half notes equals 4, and a whole note equals 4. We'll go ahead and put our double bar right there. And that'll be it for our exercise in 4-4. All right, so let's go ahead and start getting into some of the meatier things that we were last week, such as the major scale. So last week we started with this very popular scale to begin studying. Major scale starting on note C, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and C. The sound of the major scale. So look back if you've got notes, see if you can remember what we talked about last week. What makes up, our last class, what makes up the form of this major scale? What makes it a major scale? It has a lot to do with half steps and whole steps. Remember half steps from theory class and oral skills? There's your half step and here's your whole step. So the entire major scale is made up of, is like a chain that links together half steps and whole steps. Half step is the smallest distance that we can go between a note. So there's a note in between C and D. That note's C sharp. C sharp, D. So the next note up from C is C sharp. The next note up from C sharp is D. The next note up from D would be D sharp or E flat. So we can call that D sharp or E flat, etc. So these are half steps that go all the way up. We call that the chromatic scale. We'll get into that a little bit later on. So C to D is not a half step, but it's a whole step. So I'll put a W down there. for whole step. So as we're working this out, make sure you're writing this on your paper, because this is important and definitely will come back later on. So from C to D as a whole step, D to E, another whole step, E to F, it's a half step, F to G, whole step, G to A, G to A is a whole step, A to B, it's a whole step, and B to C, B to C is a half step. So this right here, these W's and H's are is the pattern for any major scale. Whole step, followed by a half step, by 3 whole steps and a half step. So here, listen, let's hear it all together. Now here's whole step, another whole step, now a half step, now a whole step, another whole step, another whole step, and half step. So whole step. That's how we get the major scale. All right, so this scale, as you can see, has no accidentals in it. It starts on the note C, ends on the note C. This will be called the C major scale. And a lot of people like to learn C major scale first, especially if they're playing piano or maybe a wind instrument, because there's no accidentals on the scale. There's nothing in the key signature, so it's just diatonic notes. So we call that note the C major scale. All right, so we'll leave our formula up there. Let's see if we can choose a different starting note now and work out another major scale. So not the C major scale, but let's see what we can come up with. So how about we try the F? Let's start on F. So what's the whole step? You guys do this on your notes. You can leave it in the chat. And if you have anything to contribute or any guesses or ideas at anything that we're saying, please put that in the chat. All right, so we're going to start on F. So let's try and come up with an F major scale. So F. Now, if we go up from F, let's go to G, and that'll give us a whole step. If we go up to F sharp, that would be our half step. We don't want the half step there, we want the whole step, so we need G. Whole step above G would be A. And what would be a half step above A? There we need B flat. Need B flat for that half step above A. B flat to C gives us a whole step. C to D gives us a whole step. D to E is another whole step. And E natural to F gives us a half step. So there we go. We've got a major scale that starts on the note F. And it's got one note in the scale as an accidental. So if we're going to be using exclusively this scale or predominantly this scale, we know that there's going to be lots of B flats. And in order to make the music easier to read, so we don't have to look at the accidental each time we want to hear that B flat, because we want to play lots of F major scales, then what we're going to do is we're going to put it right over here in the key signature. Key signature. Anytime you have a note written in the key signature, that means that that's a permanent accidental unless it changes otherwise. It's a permanent accidental unless it changes otherwise. So B flat right there. Now we don't need the accidental itself because we have it in the key signature. Now, if we were to take away the scale in this discussion and you have a piece of music that only has this B flat right here, you know that that's most likely the key of F major because of how we've worked it out here. So let's do one more. Let's do another scale. I'm going to leave the formula up here, but I want to leave you guys to it. We're not going to do F major. We're going to have a different starting pitch. Let's do G major. So I want you guys now on your own paper to use this formula of whole steps and half steps. Start with the note G to create a major scale. So remember all that we talked about here with the formula, whole steps and half steps. Starting note G. I'll get us started off on the right track. So a whole step above G is A. All right. From there, go ahead and please finish the rest of this formula for major scales.
If you guys have questions, yeah, feel free to send your answers in the chat.
All right, so we're trying to work out now the G major scale. So we've got G and A, whole step right there is one whole step down. We can take that off. We need another whole step. A to what gives us a whole step? A sharp, no. B flat, no, but we need B natural. So G, A, B natural, that gives us our second whole step. Now we need a half step from B. B natural, the whole step goes, or sorry, the half step goes right up to C. So we've got whole step, half step now. All right, from that half step, we need a whole step. C to D gives us that whole step. Another whole step up from D, E natural gives us that whole step. E natural. Now remember, if we just go right up to F from E, that's a half step. Even though it's the next note up, E to F is just a half step. So we need to raise that F up a half step to give us whole step. So that gives us F sharp. So G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, and G. All right, how do we do on that? Is this easy, tricky? Should we spend more time on it, less time on it? The good thing is we've got 12 major scales, we've got 12 minor scales, and various other types of scales that we can talk about. So this gives us plenty of things to talk about for the rest of our musical studies, really. But we're just starting with the major scales now. So G major scale, let's look at this. At this scale, no accidentals until we get to F, and that's F sharp there. So if we're playing music that's written with the key of G, here's the G major scale. So this is all in the key of G. Everything that we hear there. So if we want to play with music in that key, then we're going to have a lot of F sharps if we're going to write a whole piece. So instead of having to look at that note and seeing the accidental each time, we're going to put it over here in the key signature. So if we have one sharp in the key signature, we know that that's going to be called the key of G, G major. That's G major. All right, so I hope you guys have written down this formula. We'll go over it again in our last class next week. I'm going to erase that now. And let's look at some of these key signatures. Let's look at flat key signatures. And by that, we just mean key signatures that are made up of flats instead of sharps. So flat key signatures. Our first one that we saw was F major. So for F major, the unfortunate thing is we don't really have a trick to remember the name based on just seeing that in the key signature, but it's the first one, so hopefully we can just memorize that one. We don't need a trick for F major. F major has one flat. That's the important thing to remember. Now, something a little easier, we get a special trick when we have two or more flats in the key signature. So if you ever have a piece of music and you see two flats in the key signature, then there's an easy way to know the name of that. So if there's two or more flats, and this only works for flat key signatures, we look at the second to the last flat sign, and that's the name of our key. So if E flat here is the last key signature, this is the furthest to the right, then the one right next to it, to the left, immediately to the left, second from the end, will be the name of our key signature. So that gives us B flat major. Second to the end, we'll put that over here. Remember, second to last. That's the important thing to remember with flat key signatures. All right, so there we've got B flat. Someone, if you could, write in the chat, and maybe Ms. Lawley can let me know, if you guys can name a key signature with 3 flats.
Anybody?
What would be the name of key signature with 3 flats? B flat, E flat, and A flat.
Let's see. I see some of our musicians on here. I know you guys. At least one of you knows what key signature has 3 flats. Awesome. We've got someone coming in. Laverne. E flat is the key.
Yes. Excellent. And how do we know that? We know that we're looking for the second from the last. So we've got B, E, A flat. A flat's going to be the furthest to the right. So we need the one to the right next door to that. It's going to be this note right here, which is E flat. E flat major. All right, let's do another one. Let's keep going down the line. So now we've got 3. Let's see what we get when we have 4 flat signs.
Anyone? Yes, in the chat. Chat's open.
All right, so we look second to the last. D flat right here is the last. Let's go over right next door. That'll give us A flat major. So we have the key of B flat, E flat, and A flat. 4 flats in the key signature gives us A flat major. All right. Now, so remember this. I'll leave this up on the board for flat key signatures, but I'll erase the ones that we have so far. So take another extra few seconds to get this all written down, just to help us remember, get on the right track. And then we're going to do another exercise that will take us to the end of class. So just one more exercise, and then we'll call it a day.
Sounds good. Yeah, let us know how you're doing. I suspect a lot of you know what key signatures are. Those of you in AMP know what key signatures are and know what it means, but I suspect a lot of you didn't know the intervals between each note. So now you know that. Some new tricks to figuring out what the key signature is.
All right, so for our next exercise, what we'll finish off with today is I'm going to put a key signature on the board, and I want you guys to name the key and write the correct scale for that key signature. So that combines both of the things that we've been talking about today, knowing the flat key signatures and also how to write a major scale. So there's two steps to this. Once I get the key signature on the board, then we can go ahead and get to work on it. So B, E flat, A flat, D flat, and G flat. So we're going to write a scale now that has 5 flats in the key signature. Let's go ahead and get started on that. If you could please get to work. Remember the formula that we use, as well as our tricks to know and name flat key signatures. So once we know the name of this key signature, that's going to be our starting note. The name of the key signature is going to be our first note, and then we use our major scale formula to build the rest of the scale. So I'll let you guys get a head start on it, and then I will finish it off for you.
You can throw your answer in the chat if you have a guess. All right, we got one guess. It is the correct guess.
All right, so let's figure out this first. Make sure you guys can check your own work. We've got one correct answer. That's great. This is tricky stuff. So we find now the final, furthest to the right, flat sign in the key signature. That's on G flat, my treble clef. So what's the one right immediately before that? It's this guy right here, and that's D flat. So this is going to be a D flat major scale. All right, the good thing is that everything that we need, all those accidentals are already in the key signature, but now we have to remember to name these notes correctly. This is not a D, it is a D flat. So what's next above D flat? Whole step, E flat. All right, and what's next? Another whole step above E flat gives us F. Now we need a half step. We've got 2 whole steps. Now it's time for a half step. Half step above F, be G flat. Whole step above G flat, be A flat. Whole step above A flat, be B flat. Now a whole step above B flat, C natural. And a half step gives us D flat. All right, now let's look at the key signature. We've got D flat, E flat, F is natural, G flat, A flat, B flat, C, and D flat. So all of these flat signs are in the key signature. Now, as you can see, it's a lot easier to read when we don't have the accidentals and we only use the key signature. So that's why key signatures are so important and so easy. All right, I know this is a lot of information that we're dealing with now. We've basically learned over the last few weeks that we've been having this class how to read all of the basic elements of music. I wanted to go a little bit further, but as you know, we had some technical difficulties getting started. But next week, we're going to really dig into, we'll do the sharp signs, the major scales with sharp, key signatures, but then we'll also start to get really far into harmony. We'll try and get as far as we can in 45 minutes next week. But we can't do that without knowing a little bit about major scales. All right, if there's no questions or comments, then I think that we are out of time for today.
Yeah, thank you everyone for joining. I hope you enjoyed this class. Just a quick reminder, this is part of our AMP Masterclass series sponsored by the Chestnut Family Foundation. This class is Beginner Music Theory, How to Read Music, and we have one more class next week, and I hope you all enjoy. And we, in about 10 minutes, we will have a class on ear training. I hope you all can join us for that one, and we hope to see you soon. Thank you, everyone.